The rain hammered down in relentless sheets, washing the neon glow of the city into a blur of colors that flickered and faded. Amidst the chaos, she moved with purpose, her coat pulled tight against the storm, eyes fixed on the alleyway ahead. The flickering streetlight cast a sickly pallor over her face, highlighting the tension etched into her features. She knew she shouldn't be here, but the weight of what she carried demanded silence, secrecy, a desperation she couldn't ignore. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached into her pocket, clutching something small and sharp, an unspoken promise of stakes higher than she dared admit. Suddenly, a shadow detached itself from the darkness, just a flicker, but enough to send a ripple of caution through her veins. She paused, breath hitching, her pulse pounding against her ribs. Her eyes darted toward the figure lurking near the entrance, watchful, silent, unyielding. It was too late to turn back now. Her small choice, just a step closer, tilted her entire world into uncertain territory. She knew someone was watching, waiting for her to slip, to make a mistake. The faintest whisper of movement behind her made her stiffen, eyes flicking to a figure in the distance, a stranger who seemed to notice her, yet said nothing. A flicker of kindness in that moment, a quick, almost unnoticed glance from the stranger, offered a fragile tether to humanity amid the chaos. She caught it, briefly, feeling a flicker of shared understanding, a silent acknowledgement of risk and resolve. Her heart hammered harder, not just from fear but from a stubborn flicker of hope. As she edged forward, the distant, unspoken threat loomed closer, a reminder that her time was running out. Somewhere behind her, footsteps echoed, deliberate and slow, as if the night itself was watching. She hesitated just long enough for her eyes to catch a glimpse of the watchful figure, an unblinking sentinel, silent and imposing. Her grip tightened on the small object in her pocket, instinct guiding her more than reason. The city's chaos seemed to pulse around her, yet she was rooted in this moment, caught between risk and necessity. The quiet hum of the rain masked the faint sound of an approaching danger, a silent threat that could unravel everything in an instant. Without warning, she took a step, then another, her mind racing with unspoken questions. What was she really risking? Who was truly watching her? The alley stretched ahead, dark and foreboding, promising either salvation or ruin. Somewhere, beyond the rain and shadows, a figure lurked, one she hadn't seen yet but felt lurking just beneath the surface. Her eyes flicked again toward the stranger, a brief gesture of connection, a silent plea for understanding amid the chaos. The rain seemed to slow for a moment as if holding its breath. And then, just as she reached for the hidden object, a voice whispered from the shadows, calm, but with an edge that sent a shiver down her spine. The game had changed, and the night was only beginning to reveal its secrets. The night's shadows stretched longer as the alleyway grew colder, darker. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from the gloom, tall, broad, with a cruel smile that curved too sharply, eyes like ice knives glinting under the flickering street lamp. It was the landlord, Mr. Grayson, a man whose reputation for cruelty matched the harshness of his features. His coat was slick with rain, but his gaze was colder still. He approached with a deliberate, disdainful stride, voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "Well, well. Look who's sneaking around." His tone was mocking, sharp as a whip. The woman froze, her trembling hand clutching the small package tighter. His eyes flicked over her, assessing, dismissing. "Thought you could hide from me? You're late again, and I'm tired of your excuses." He paused, a cruel smirk curling his lips. "Thought you could just slip away, huh? Think you're better than everyone else?" His voice boomed, echoing in the alley. People nearby, some passing by, looked but said nothing, silent witnesses to the spectacle. Her breath hitched, voice trembling as she tried to speak. "Please, but he cut her off with a harsh laugh, a sound devoid of kindness. "Please. No, you don't get to plead. You've been warned. I'll be taking what's mine." His hand shot forward, grabbing her wrist with a grip that bruised. She winced, tears threatening to spill, her face pale and strained. "You can't do this," she whispered, voice cracking. His eyes narrowed cruelly. Can't I do whatever I want? You should have paid on time, like everyone else. But no, you think you're special. His grip tightened, and she gasped, struggling to free herself. But he held on, relentless. You're lucky I don't throw you out into the rain, like trash. His voice was venomous, each word dripping with contempt. The crowd's silence grew heavier, the air thick with helplessness. She looked down, tears welling as her shoulders shook. Her plea was barely audible, please, I have nowhere else. He sneered, yanking her chin up so she met his cold gaze. No one cares. No one's coming to save you. His words sliced through her, sharp and unkind. Then, in one swift motion, he shoved her to the ground, her knees hitting the wet pavement with a hollow thud. Her hand instinctively reached for the small object in her pocket, but it was trembling too much to grasp. Her eyes flooded with tears as she looked up at him, defeated, broken. Around her, the alley's shadows seemed to close in tighter, the cold night pressing down like a weight she couldn't escape. No one moved to help. The passerbys' faces blurred into indifference, a sea of silent witnesses to her humiliation. Her body curled inward, knees drawn to her chest, trembling as the icy rain soaked her through. The cruel landlord stared down at her, a triumphant smirk on his face. Next time, don't come crying when I take everything, he sneered. Then he turned, walking away without a backward glance, leaving her there, broken, vulnerable, and utterly alone. The alley grew quiet again, save for the distant hum of traffic and her ragged breathing. Her trembling hand clutched the small package tighter, her mind racing with despair. Who would help? Who would see her? The night had become colder, darker, and the cruel shadow of injustice stretched long across her battered spirit. From a distance, a woman paused at the entrance of the alley, her brow furrowing as her gaze fell upon the scene unfolding below. She was passing by on her way home, a quiet figure wrapped in a worn coat, hands clasped tightly around a paper bag. The cold night air bit at her cheeks, but her attention was fixed on the trembling figure on the ground. Her eyes widened as she took in the sight of the woman curled up, knees drawn to her chest, tears streaking her face. The rain continued to fall, mixing with the tears, blurring the victim's features into a fragile, desperate shape. She watched as the man, tall, broad, with a face carved in cruelty, shouted harsh words, his voice echoing off the alley's walls. The woman's shoulders shook with silent sobs, her body trembling uncontrollably. The observer's stomach clenched. She saw the way the man's grip was unforgiving, the way he shoved her down with brutal force, like she was nothing more than trash to be discarded. Her heart ached at the helplessness radiating from her, the humiliated expression that told of deeper pain beneath the tears. The woman hesitated, her breath catching in her throat. She could see the shame and despair etched into the victim's face, so fragile, so broken. The crowd around them, indifferent or unaware, blurred into a silent backdrop, the noise of the street muffled by her own pounding pulse. A few passers-by glanced but kept walking, their faces blank, their footsteps hurried. No one seemed to notice or care enough to intervene. Only she lingered, rooted in place, torn between moving closer and staying hidden. Is this really happening? She whispered to herself, voice trembling as she watched the cruel man's relentless actions. Her fingers clenched into fists, a flicker of anger rising but held back by the weight of uncertainty. Why would someone treat another human like this? The question haunted her, echoing in the quiet spaces of her mind as she fought the urge to step forward, to do something, anything. The victim's trembling body caught her eye again. Tears streamed down her face, mingling with the rain, her shoulders heaving with silent sobs. Her small, trembling hand reached instinctively for the object in her pocket, but her fingers failed to steady enough to grasp it. The woman's heart clenched tighter. She saw the pain, the shame, the helplessness, and her stomach twisted. She wanted to reach out, to say something, anything, but her voice felt trapped, caught in her throat, useless against the cruel silence. The man's voice grew more contemptuous, his words slicing through the night. "No one's coming to save you," he sneered. His words hung heavy in the air, more a curse than a statement of fact. The victim's body slumped further, her face streaked with tears and rain, eyes staring blankly at the wet pavement. Her sobs slowed, but her shoulders still shook with silent despair. She looked so fragile, so entirely broken. The observer took a hesitant step closer, her heart pounding louder. Her mind raced with feelings of helplessness and an emerging sense of responsibility. She saw the cruel smirk on the landlord's face, the way he towered over her, powerful, unrepentant, utterly indifferent to her suffering. The alley remained silent except for the distant hum of traffic and the occasional drip of rain. No one else moved, no one else seemed to notice the depth of her pain. A faint, almost involuntary whisper escaped her lips, why would someone do this? Her voice was barely audible, trembling with emotion. She felt the sting of injustice, the unfairness of it all. Her eyes flicked between the woman on the ground and the cruel figure still standing over her, her mind torn between outrage and hesitation. She wanted to help, to intervene, but the moment felt frozen in time, dangerous and delicate all at once. As she watched, her fingers clenched into fists again, knuckles white. The victim's suffering still played out in slow, agonizing detail. The cruel man's voice, unyielding and cold, continued to cut into the night. The woman on the ground remained broken, her body trembling, her spirit battered. The observer felt a rising tide of doubt and hope colliding within her, uncertain whether to step into the darkness or wait for a sign that change was truly near. Suddenly, a voice shattered the silence like a thunderclap. "Enough," it roared, unwavering and commanding. The woman who had been lingering on the edge of the scene stepped forward with fierce resolve, her eyes blazing with anger and heartbreak. Her hand shot out, palm flat and firm, to block the cruel landlord's next move. Her voice rang out again, louder and steadier, "Leave her alone. Now." The air grew heavy with shock. The crowd of indifferent passers-by hesitated, faces flickering with surprise and disbelief. The victim's trembling body froze, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. She had never seen anyone stand up for her like this before. The landlord's face twisted with fury, his eyes narrowing into dangerous slits. "Who do you think you are?" he spat, voice dripping with contempt. "Get out of my way, or you'll regret it." But the woman didn't step back. Her stance was firm, her voice unwavering. "You've gone too far. Leave her alone, or I'll call the police." Her words cut through the night air, sharp and uncompromising. The landlord's jaw tightened, mockery curling his lips. "Oh, you're brave now. Who's going to stop me?" His hand balled into a fist, but she held her ground, her gaze unwavering. The victim shrank back instinctively, her trembling hands clutching her coat tighter, as if the woman's courage might somehow shield her from further harm. Her eyes darted between the two, hope flickering, fear lingering. The crowd remained silent, watching, unsure whether to step in or stay out of it. The woman's voice softened, but still carried strength. "No one deserves to be treated like this. Not her. Not anyone." Her words hung in the air, a challenge thrown into the shadows. The landlord's eyes flicked with rage, then sneered. "You think you can change anything? This is my place. I do what I want." His voice was venomous, his face contorted with contempt. He took a step forward, fists clenched, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she planted her feet more firmly, raising her voice again, "I see what you're doing. And I won't stand by and watch you destroy her." The victim looked up, eyes brimming with tears, trembling with a mixture of fear and relief. She whispered, voice barely audible, "Thank you, but it's not over." The cruel landlord's glare sharpened. "You think you can stop me? You're nothing." His voice dripped with disdain. He pushed past her, aiming to intimidate, but she held her ground, shoulders squared. The crowd's silence pressed heavier, the tension thick enough to cut. In that moment, a spark of something different flickered: hope, defiance, a battle for what was right. The woman's chest rose and fell with steady breath, her stance unyielding. She met his glare head-on. The night held its breath, waiting for what would come next. The victim, trembling and frightened, still clung to a fragile thread of hope. The battle had begun, and the darkness that had seemed so impenetrable was finally challenged. But the fight was far from over. The woman's stand had shifted the mood, but now it crackled with something darker beneath the surface. The stranger, a quiet but observant man who had been watching from the shadows, stepped closer, voice sharp and probing. "Who are you really?" he demanded, eyes piercing the landlord's. "What are you hiding?" The landlord's face flickered with panic, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "I don't know what you're talking about," he snarled, voice shaky. "This is none of your business." But the stranger pressed forward, voice harder. "Did you hurt her? Did you threaten her? Or is there something else you're afraid we'll find out?" The victim hesitated, her trembling lips parting slightly. Then, almost inaudibly, she whispered a name, soft, broken, painfully revealing. "It was my father." The words fell like a stone into a still pond. Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. The crowd's eyes widened, caught between shock and disbelief. The woman's face went pale, her grip tightening on her coat. The stranger's brow furrowed deeply. "Her father? You mean, your father?" he asked, voice trembling with a mixture of anger and concern. The victim nodded, tears prickling her eyes. He's the one who's been hurting me." The landlord's face twisted into something ugly, a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "Lies," he spat. "She's lying. She's just trying to make trouble." But the woman's gaze was fixed on the victim, her voice trembling but firm. "Tell me the truth. Did he hurt you? Did he threaten you?" The victim hesitated again, then whispered, voice breaking, "He's been doing it for years. Since I was a child." The words hung in the air, raw and devastating. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, the weight of the revelation sinking into every corner. The stranger's eyes flicked between the landlord and the girl, searching for answers. "Why didn't you say anything before? Why now?" he demanded. The victim looked down, voice barely a whisper. "Because I was scared. I thought I'd be hurt worse if he found out I told anyone." Her voice cracked, trembling with years of silence and pain. The landlord's face grew red, his composure crumbling. "You're lying," he hissed, voice rising. "This is all a setup. You're trying to ruin me." But his trembling hands betrayed him. His eyes darted nervously, the cracks in his facade widening. The woman stepped closer, voice fierce. "Enough. We need to know the truth. Everything." The air grew heavier with every second. The crowd's murmurs faded into silence, anticipation thick in the air. The victim's trembling hands clutched her coat tighter, her voice trembling as she added, "He's been beating her, too. My mother. She tried to protect me, but he's dangerous." Her words cut like a knife through the tense atmosphere. The stranger's eyes widened in shock. "This isn't just about some dispute. It's abuse. It's worse than we thought." The landlord's face contorted with rage, a desperate attempt to deny it all. "You don't know anything," he spat. "This is a lie. All of it." His voice cracked, revealing his nervousness, his fear. "You're making this up. To destroy me." But the girl's trembling voice grew stronger. "It's true. Everything I said. I can't take it anymore." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, her voice barely a whisper. "Please, someone help me." A hush fell over the crowd, the weight of the truth pressing down, heavy and undeniable. The moment had shifted, the secrets that had been buried were now threatening to explode. Every eye was fixed, waiting for what would come next. The night felt colder, darker. The secret was out, but the full story remained just beyond reach, waiting to unravel. The battle for justice had begun, and no one knew how far it would go. The girl's trembling lips parted again, tears streaming down her face as she finally let the words spill out. Her voice was barely more than a whisper, broken and raw. "He's my father, but he's also my brother." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap, deafening in their silence. Every eye widened in shock, every breath caught in a collective gasp. The crowd stared, frozen, as if the very air had thickened into concrete. The woman's eyes widened in disbelief, her hand instinctively covering her mouth. The stranger's jaw dropped, a stunned expression overtaking his face. The landlord's face twisted into a mask of fury, then horror, then denial, all at once. "No," he spat, voice trembling with rage. "That's impossible. You're lying. You're trying to ruin me." But the girl's trembling voice persisted, tears mixing with her words. "It's true. I didn't want to believe it myself, but I saw them. His face. His hands. It was him. For years, I've been hiding it. I've been too scared to say anything." Her voice cracked. "He's my father. My abuser. And my brother." Silence fell like a heavy curtain. The crowd stared in stunned disbelief, some turning away, others trembling with shock. The woman's face crumpled, her eyes swimming with tears. "All this time, I thought I was alone," she whispered, voice hoarse. "I thought I was the only one." The stranger stepped forward, voice thick with emotion. "How could he hide this? How long has this been going on? Why didn't anyone know?" The girl hesitated, her trembling hands clutching her coat tighter. "He's always been so good outside, charming, respected. No one would believe me. I was just a child. I thought it was normal, somehow. That I was the only one suffering." Her voice broke into a sob. "I've carried this secret for so long. I thought I'd die with it." The landlord's face contorted with rage, then desperation. "You're lying. All of you are lying. I never did anything to her. It's all a lie, a setup," but his voice faltered, and his trembling hands betrayed his composure. His eyes darted nervously, guilt flickering behind them. "You don't understand," he hissed, voice rising in a desperate plea. "She's crazy. She's trying to ruin me. I've done nothing wrong." The girl looked directly at him, voice trembling but steady now. "You hurt me. You hurt her. You've been hiding it all this time, pretending everything's fine. But the truth is out now. Everyone knows." Her shoulders shook with the effort of speaking. "I was just a child. I thought I'd be safe if I kept it inside. But I wasn't. And I'm not anymore." The crowd's shock deepened, a collective intake of breath, disbelief etched into every face. The weight of the revelation pressed down hard, making the night seem darker, colder. The air crackled with tension as the truth shattered whatever illusions had remained. The landlord's face twisted into something unrecognizable, anger, guilt, shame all blending into a mask of fury. "You're all liars," he spat again, voice cracking. "This is my life you're destroying. I never did those things. She's lying. She's trying to ruin me." But his trembling hands, his shrinking posture, and the haunted look in his eyes betrayed him. The girl's face was streaked with tears, her voice now trembling with a mixture of fear and relief. "I just wanted someone to believe me, to stop him." She looked around, eyes pleading, desperate for someone, anyone, to see the truth. The crowd remained frozen, breathless in the weight of what had just been revealed. The night held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The shocking truth had shattered the facade, and now, everything was on the edge of unraveling. The terrible secret was finally out in the open. And the world would never look at him the same way again. The landlord's face twisted into a mask of pure fury. His voice shattered the tense silence, loud and desperate. "You're all crazy. This is a lie. I never." His words were cut off as he took a frantic step forward, eyes wild with panic. "You can't prove anything. I'll deny it all, call the police if you want. I'm innocent, innocent," his voice cracked, trembling with rage and fear. He lunged toward her, fists clenched, as if to strike, but the woman stepped in, unyielding. Her voice rang out, sharp and unwavering. "Stop. You've crossed the line. It's over." Her eyes burned with a mixture of anger and heartbreak, her voice rising above his. "You've hurt her. You've lied. You've betrayed everything. No more lies. No more hiding." The girl's trembling body doubled over in tears, clutching her face, voice ragged. "It's true. I've been living in hell. I can't keep this secret anymore." Her voice cracked with pain, but her words cut through the chaos. "He's my father. My brother. He's been abusing us both for years. I was just afraid, too scared to say it. And now everyone knows." Her voice shattered into sobs, but she kept speaking. "I wanted the truth to come out. I wanted justice. I'm tired of hiding." The crowd's gasps and whispers grew louder, faces pale, eyes wide with shock. The stranger's jaw clenched, fists trembling at his sides. His voice was hoarse but commanding. "Enough. This monster needs to be stopped now. You've lied, yes, but we're not going to let him get away with it. Not anymore." The woman took a step closer, voice firm and loud. "You can't deny it anymore. The truth is out. What you've done, what you are, is unforgivable. Justice has to be served." The landlord's eyes darted wildly, sweat pouring down his face as he desperately searched for a way out. "You're all crazy. You're all part of this conspiracy," he shouted, voice rising in a frantic scream. "I'm not a monster. I'm innocent. You're just trying to ruin me." His words were drowned out by the rising tide of anger and grief. "You're lying. She's lying. I never touched her. His voice broke into a high-pitched scream, and he backed away, eyes wide with terror, as if the walls were closing in. The girl looked directly at him, trembling but brave. "You're the monster," she whispered, voice trembling but clear. "I've been living in your shadow for years. But I won't be silent anymore." Her tears streamed freely down her face. "I want everyone to know what you really are. I want the world to see the truth." The woman's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "It's over. You can't hide anymore. The lies, the cruelty, they're exposed. And now, everyone will see you for what you truly are." The crowd was silent, breath held, as the storm of emotions reached its peak. The landlord's face contorted into a mask of fury and despair, his hands trembling violently. His voice, full of mockery and rage, was the last attempt to cling to his false innocence. "You think you've won? This isn't over. I'll fight you. I'll fight everyone. You haven't seen the last of me." His words were drowned out by the rising chaos, fists clenched, veins bulging in his neck. The girl collapsed to her knees, crying freely now, but a flicker of relief shone behind her tears. The woman's stance was unshaken, eyes blazing with justice. The stranger's voice echoed, loud and commanding. "Justice will be done. You can't hide from it anymore." The tension was unbearable, thick enough to suffocate. Every face in the crowd was etched with shock, anger, and a hunger for truth. The night seemed frozen at the climax of a storm, ready to burst. The full weight of the revelation pressed down on everyone. The battle had reached its breaking point. The monster's mask was slipping, but the fight was far from over. The next move would determine everything. The silence stretched long and heavy, waiting for what would come next. The landlord's face drained of color as the evidence was laid bare before everyone, photos, testimonies, and the undeniable truth. His words, once confident and loud, now faltered. "This is a setup. You're all lying," his voice cracked, trembling with desperation. His fists clenched tightly, knuckles white, as he took a shaky step back. His eyes darted around, searching for a way out, but the crowd's gaze was cold and unwavering. Whispers grew louder, shaming him, condemning him. "He's a monster," someone whispered, voice trembling with disgust. "He's always been a liar," another added, voice rising in anger. His arrogance crumbled. The cruel mask he wore was cracking, revealing the panic beneath. His bravado dissolved into hollow protests. "You don't understand. It's all a mistake," he stammered, voice trembling. "I didn't mean," but the evidence spoke for itself. The woman, the girl, the witnesses, all strikingly clear. Their words had pierced his defenses, exposing his lies, his cruelty, his arrogance. The crowd's support shifted visibly. Faces that once hesitated now turned away from him, eyes filled with disdain. Some nodded in agreement, others whispered fiercely against him. The woman stepped forward, voice strong and commanding. "It's over. Your lies can't hide the truth anymore. You've been caught. No more excuses." Her words sliced through his feeble defenses. His mouth opened, but no words came out. His jaw quivered, and his eyes flickered with a flicker of panic. He tried to speak, to deny, but his voice was weak, frail and trembling. "You're twisting everything," he croaked, voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. "This is a lie." He took another step back, desperation flooding his face. His eyes searched for escape but found only rejection. The crowd's whispers grew into a chorus of condemnation. "Justice is finally coming," someone declared, voice loud and clear. The woman's stance remained firm, her gaze unwavering. "You're finished. Your reign of cruelty ends here." The atmosphere thickened with tension, an electric charge of relief and retribution. The man's bravado was gone, replaced by trembling fear. His shoulders slumped, and he looked around desperately for allies, but there were none. Only cold, condemning faces. His hands shook violently as he tried to deny, to escape, but it was too late. His attempts to run or hide were thwarted by the firm presence of the woman and the gathered crowd. The police, called moments earlier, began to arrive, their serious faces adding weight to the moment. The landlord's eyes widened in terror as officers approached him, their grips firm and unyielding. "You're under arrest," one officer announced, voice steady. His head hung low, defeated, as cuffs clicked around his wrists. His shoulders sagged under the weight of humiliation. The crowd's whispers turned into a murmur of relief, of justice being served. The victim, trembling yet somehow standing taller, looked on with a flicker of newfound hope. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of freedom. The woman placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, offering silent support. The darkness that had surrounded her for so long was beginning to lift. The man's once imposing figure was now crumpled, cornered by the truth, his power shattered. Yet, amidst the victory, a fragile silence remained. The victim's eyes flicked toward the horizon, waiting. Waiting for the real justice, for the healing that would come. The moment was tense, an undeniable shift in the tide of justice. The man's voice was reduced to a whisper, almost inaudible. "You'll regret this," he muttered, voice trembling with a mixture of anger and despair. But nobody listened. He was defeated. His lies, his cruelty, his arrogance, all laid bare. The crowd's breath was held, awaiting what would come next. The air was thick with a strange mix of relief and anticipation. The villain's reign was over. But the battle for true healing had only just begun. The victim's body trembled as she sank to her knees, her shoulders heaving with silent sobs. The weight of years of pain, fear, and betrayal finally broke free in that moment. Tears streamed down her face, hot and uncontrollable, as if releasing a flood long held back. Her voice was barely a whisper, trembling with raw emotion. Thank you, for believing me. Please, don't leave me again." Her words were fragile, but they carried the weight of a soul finally being heard and seen. Her trembling hands reached out, seeking comfort, seeking reassurance in the presence of those who had stood by her side. The woman, with gentle eyes and a steady voice, knelt beside her, softly wiping away her tears. "You're safe now. No one will hurt you again. We're here. You're not alone anymore." Her words were tender, a soothing balm against the raw wounds that had been inflicted for so long. The girl looked up, eyes red and swollen, but a flicker of trust ignited in her gaze. She clung to the woman's hand as if it were her last anchor in a storm of chaos. The crowd around them softened, faces filled with sympathy and quiet support. Some offered gentle nods, others reached out with comforting gestures. The air had shifted from tense confrontation to one of compassion. The police officers carefully guided the now cuffed landlord away, but no one paid him much mind anymore. His presence was a distant echo of the darkness that had once haunted her life. Slowly, the girl's trembling subsided into quiet tears, her shoulders relaxing as she leaned into the comforting embrace of the woman beside her. Her voice, once so broken, gained a fragile strength. "It's finally over. I don't have to hide anymore." Her words hung in the air, heavy with relief and vulnerability. The woman nodded, voice soft but firm. "Yes, it's over. You're free now. And we will make sure you stay safe. No matter what comes next, you're not alone." The gentle hands that held her trembled with tenderness, offering silent reassurance. Around them, the atmosphere shifted from chaos to calm, hope blooming where despair once reigned. The victims' tears continued, but they no longer carried only pain. There was a flicker of relief, of newfound hope, an unspoken promise that justice had finally begun. The girl pressed her face into the woman's shoulder, trembling but feeling the warmth of genuine care. She whispered, voice muffled but sincere, "I was so scared. I thought I'd never escape, but now I believe it's possible. I believe I can be safe." Her words were a fragile prayer, a prayer of hope after so much darkness. The woman gently cradled her, whispering soothing words. "You are safe now. We will protect you. You've taken a brave step, and we won't let anything harm you again." The crowd around them slowly dispersed, leaving only the quiet comfort between the woman and the girl. A few kind voices offered words of encouragement, but mostly, silence reigned, filled with understanding, compassion, and hope. The world seemed to hold its breath, acknowledging the fragile miracle of healing unfolding before their eyes. The victim's trembling hands finally relaxed, and she looked up, her eyes shining with a mixture of exhaustion and a flicker of hope. Her voice was steadier now, filled with gratitude and a newfound strength. "Thank you, for not giving up. Thank you for believing me, for seeing me." The woman's smile was gentle but firm. "We see you. We believe in you. And we will walk with you, every step of the way. You are not alone anymore." As the night settled over the scene, a quiet peace replaced the storm. The darkness had been pierced by a sliver of light, hope, justice, and compassion shining through. The girl finally felt the warmth of belonging, the reassurance that someone cared, and the promise that her future could be different. Her tears dried, but her heart was softer now, open to healing. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, feeling safe for the first time in a long, long while. And in that quiet moment, she knew she was no longer invisible. She was seen. She was loved. And, at last, she could begin to heal. The first light of dawn seeped softly through the broken window, casting a gentle glow over the quiet street. The night storm had passed, leaving behind a world washed clean and renewed. The girl sat quietly on a bench, her eyes fixed on the horizon, where the sky shimmered with hues of pink and gold. Her face was peaceful now, no longer haunted by shadows of fear. Tears had dried, replaced with a calm that felt like the promise of a new beginning. She took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill her lungs, and for the first time in a long while, she believed she was truly safe. The woman who had stood by her side placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Her smile was tender, full of hope. "You're free," she whispered. "You are finally free." The girl nodded slowly, a faint, genuine smile touching her lips. She looked at the woman with gratitude that words could not fully express. "Thank you," she whispered, voice trembling but sincere. "Thank you for believing in me. For seeing me." The woman squeezed her hand gently. "You are strong. You've been through so much, but you've survived. Now, you have a future to build." Around them, life stirred, birds chirped softly, and the world seemed to breathe a quiet sigh of relief. The darkness that had once loomed so large was now replaced by hope, by the possibility of healing and renewal. The girl's eyes sparkled with the first hints of hope. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew she no longer had to walk it alone. That simple truth filled her with a courage she had never known before. The image of the fallen villain was distant now, a reminder of the cruelty that had once shadowed her life. But it was also a symbol of truth uncovered, of justice finally catching up with evil. The lesson she carried was clear: cruelty cannot hide forever. Lies may be told, but they always crumble under the weight of truth. And kindness, true, unwavering kindness, has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. The woman's voice, soft but resolute, broke the silence. "Remember, no matter how dark the night, dawn will always come. And kindness can change a life." The girl looked at her, eyes shining with unspoken understanding. "I will never forget," she whispered. "I will carry this lesson forever. That even in the darkest moments, compassion can shine brighter than any darkness." As the sun rose higher, casting its golden light over the city, the scene felt like a rebirth, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The power of one person's kindness, combined with the courage of another, had transformed despair into hope, suffering into strength. The world was not perfect, but it was better, because justice had been served, and love had begun to heal the wounds of the past. The girl slowly stood, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face and the promise of a new day in her heart. She took a step forward, no longer running from her pain, but embracing her future with open arms. The woman watched her go, a quiet smile on her face, knowing that this moment was a beginning, of healing, of hope, and of a future where kindness would always prevail. The street was peaceful now, a small but powerful reminder that even the darkest nights give way to the dawn. And in that light, every soul has the chance to rise, to heal, and to find the strength to carry on. The story of pain had turned into a story of hope, a reminder that no matter how cruel life may seem, love and justice will always find a way to shine through. And as the day unfolded, the world held its breath, waiting for the next dawn, knowing that kindness could truly change everything.